I recently drove an EV to Chicago. Little background. This is an EV that I've reviewed before. It's the Genesis GV60. And let me start by saying I still love the car. I love a lot about this car. But I'd never had the opportunity to take it on a trip. I had a meeting in Chicago, which would allow me to swap because that is where my driveway companies that bring me cars every week are based out of Chicago. So going to Chicago, I said, hey, we can swap at the meeting I'm going to since they're going to be at the same meeting, and I will just drive the EV back. Now, the first thing I asked them was, where are the chargers that you use between here and Des Moines? Because it's winter. We know that there's going to be some loss of mileage capability, and that I knew I was going to have to recharge. I got my first taste of reality when I charged the thing up full a few miles from my house. Now, this is a charger I use all the time. It is what they call a level 3 charger, what they call a fast charger, which is basically anything from 150 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts and higher. And that was where I got my first lesson. Now, the vehicle didn't sit out in a real bitter cold. I just got the vehicle just after our real cold snap, but it was still probably in the 30s here. The GV60 has a rated range of about 235 miles. Depending on what model you get, it could be as high as 294 miles. First thing I did is I said, well, let me charge this to 100%, see what I'm working with. I got 175 miles is what I got, fully charged. I'm like, uh-oh. Chicago's 300 miles away. Now, the driveway company did give me 3 locations to where their drivers use when they're bringing EVs out to me that have what we call level 3 chargers. The first one is roughly 89 miles away in Williamsburg, Iowa. The second one's 100 miles from there in Geneseo, Illinois. And then the final one's 116 miles from Geneseo and Joliet. Bear in mind that in Joliet, Illinois, I am still not at my destination. I'm still 30 to 40 miles from it. Since about 2021, every vehicle that I have gotten that is electric has been driven here. So there's that. So things are improving. I'm already down roughly 60 miles in my range. Here's what I don't know. Even though I'm leaving early, that the chargers would be available, meaning that I didn't have to wait in line or that they weren't broken. And I wanted to leave enough time because I needed to be at my meeting at 11:30 in Chicago. Remember, 5-hour trip normally. I added 3 hours to my trip. I left at 2:45 in the morning. Made excellent time, got to the first station in Williamsburg, Iowa, in a little over an hour. I covered that distance in a little over an hour. Please don't tell the state police. They had both 150 kilowatt chargers and 350 kilowatt chargers. Now I'm going to tell you something that anybody who's used public chargers already knows. That if you're serious about charging and you're going to be in weather that is less than perfect, you're going to want the 350 kilowatt charger. Number one, just because it says 350, don't mean that's what you're getting. I charged between 40 and 140 kilowatts. So there's the first problem. When I originally charged before I hit the road with my 150 kilowatt charger up the street, I only got between 10 and 20 kilowatts. It took almost an hour to cover the 11% I needed. That was not okay. Sat there and it took me an hour because I was, again, not sure what I was driving to in Geneseo and wanted to make sure I got all the charge necessary. Because here's the problem. If the charger in Geneseo, Illinois did not work or was not available, then I was at risk of not making it to Joliet. Why? Because if I couldn't charge in Geneseo, I'd already spent 100 miles, I got a range of 175, and I got 116 miles to go. That doesn't work. I looked for other chargers between Geneseo and Joliet. There were no level 3 chargers at all. Level 2 chargers, yes, in Peru, Illinois. The problem with that, Peru was partway in, but a level 2, I'd still be charging. A week later, I'd probably still be trying to get enough charge to get anywhere. Got to Geneseo. Good news, charger was working. And it was a 350 because these were split 150 kilowatt and 350 kilowatt. And in both cases, I was able to use the 350 kilowatt hour charger, which was a good thing. It still took an hour. That's not okay. So basically, 2 hours in, an extra 2 hours that I had to spend not going anywhere. Let me stop right here and share this with you that you may not realize, and I learned the hard way. I have on my phone now 4 different EV charging apps. 4. And Electrify America, which were the ones in Geneseo and Williamsburg and Joliet, which worked, were also expensive. They ripped me off because I wasn't a member. So I paid top dollar per kilowatt hour. It was expensive. Doing it that way, easily, I spent $60 getting from Des Moines to Chicago. Finally, get to Joliet. Again, it's working. Got in, plugged in, and there were other cars around, so I lucked out. The good news is, yes, I got to Chicago. And I got there safely. I didn't run out of power. But it was expensive, it was time-consuming, and I was late. I was still half an hour late. Bottom line, I need more range, and I need more chargers, more high-speed chargers that actually deliver closer to what they're posted. So, am I going to buy that electric? No. Next car is not going to be, not yet.